The biggest economic illusion. Most people believe, imagine that tomorrow, every person in your country woke up with an extra $100,000 in their bank account. At first, that sounds fantastic. People would feel richer. News headlines would celebrate, politicians would take credit, social media would explode with excitement. But take a step back and ask yourself a simple question. Would there suddenly be more houses, more food, more factories, more doctors, more engineers, more energy, more productive businesses? Of course not. Nothing in the real world would have changed. The amount of money would be different, but the amount of actual wealth would remain exactly the same. And that reveals one of the biggest misunderstandings in modern economics. Many people confuse money with wealth. But money is not wealth. Money is simply a tool that helps us exchange wealth. Real wealth consists of the things that make our lives better: homes, infrastructure, machines, technology, skilled workers, farmland, transportation networks, energy systems, and productive businesses. Without these things, money is just numbers on a screen. The problem is that modern economic discussions often focus almost entirely on money, while ignoring the resources that money is supposed to represent. Whenever there is an economic crisis, the public conversation usually revolves around interest rates, stimulus packages, central banks, debt levels, and financial markets. Rarely does the discussion focus on the deeper question: who controls the resources? Who owns the productive assets? Who benefits from economic growth? And who bears the cost when things go wrong? For decades, many policymakers have treated monetary policy as the solution to nearly every problem. If growth slows, lower interest rates. If markets fall, inject liquidity. If consumers stop spending, increase stimulus. If confidence weakens, create more money. The assumption is always the same. Move enough money around and the real economy will somehow fix itself. But reality is often far more complicated. After major economic crises, enormous efforts have been made to support financial systems and stimulate economic activity. Yet many people still feel that housing has become less affordable. Living costs have risen. Public services face increasing pressure. And wealth has become more concentrated. This raises an uncomfortable question. What if money is not nearly as powerful as many people assume? What if the real issue is not the amount of money in the system, but the distribution of resources within that system? Think about a city with 100 houses. Now imagine that everyone suddenly has twice as much money. The number of houses remains 100. The number of families remains the same. The amount of land remains unchanged. What happens? The houses do not magically multiply. Instead, people simply compete with more money for the same limited number of homes. The resource stays fixed. Only the financial claims on that resource increase. This distinction matters. A society does not become richer because it creates more currency. A society becomes richer when it increases its capacity to produce valuable goods and services. That means building infrastructure, training skilled workers, improving technology, creating energy, increasing productivity. These are real-world improvements. They require real-world resources. And resources are always limited. This is where many economic discussions become disconnected from reality. People often talk about economic growth as if it can happen without any trade-offs. As if governments can simply announce growth. As if investors can create prosperity by moving numbers around. As if wealth appears automatically whenever enough money enters the system. But every new project requires labor. It requires materials. It requires land. It requires energy. And those resources must come from somewhere. If a country wants to build more houses, it needs builders. If those builders are already busy constructing luxury developments, office towers, or expensive renovations, then resources must be redirected. The workers do not appear from nowhere. The materials do not appear from nowhere. The land does not appear from nowhere. Real economic decisions are ultimately decisions about allocating scarce resources. Money can influence those decisions, but money itself is not the resource. This confusion creates another common misunderstanding. Many people think that if large amounts of savings are invested, economic growth automatically follows. But investment alone is not enough. Investment only creates value when it is connected to real productive activity. You cannot build factories without workers. You cannot build homes without materials. You cannot expand production without energy and infrastructure. Money can help coordinate these activities. You cannot expand production without energy and infrastructure. Money can help coordinate these activities, but it cannot replace them. Imagine a restaurant with 20 tables. One evening, every customer arrives with twice as much cash as usual. Has the restaurant become twice as productive? No. There are still 20 tables. The kitchen remains the same size. The staff remains the same size. The restaurant's real capacity has not changed. The only thing that changes is competition for the available seats. The same principle applies to entire economies. The ultimate constraint is not money. The ultimate constraint is productive capacity. Throughout history, periods of rapid growth have usually occurred when societies gain access to new resources, new technologies, or major productivity improvements. Growth happened because the real economy expanded, not simply because more money was created. This is why it is dangerous to focus exclusively on financial indicators while ignoring resource ownership. A society can appear financially successful while important assets become increasingly concentrated. A stock market can rise. Asset prices can increase. Financial wealth can expand. Yet, ordinary citizens may still struggle to afford housing, education, healthcare, or basic necessities. The numbers may look impressive, but the underlying distribution of resources may be moving in a completely different direction. And that distribution matters, because real living standards are ultimately determined by access to resources, not by abstract financial figures. You cannot live inside a bank account. You cannot eat a balance sheet. You cannot drive an interest rate. You need homes, food, energy, transportation, healthcare, security, education. These are the foundations of prosperity. Money only matters because it helps people access them.
Hey everyone, welcome back. If you're new here, please subscribe to my channel. Just click this red button below. Join our community for more great content. Thanks for watching.